good to be American. Thank you. Gosh, thank you. Happy birthday, Ronald Reagan. Well, a special hello to the C-SPAN viewers. You may not be welcome in those healthcare negotiations, but you have an invitation to the Tea Party. Very good to be here in Tennessee, the volunteer state. It's the home of good country music and good Southern barbecue, and great to be at the Tea Party convention. I guess down here, that's some Southern sweet tea. And you know, up in Alaska, we have a smaller version of Tea Party up there, and we call it iced tea. And I am a big supporter of this movement. I believe in this movement. Got lots of friends and family in the lower 48 who attend these events, and across the country, just knowing that this is the movement and America is ready for another revolution, and you are a part of this.
Hello everyone, Darko 2012 here with Global Government News, reading an article titled Beginning of the End, Sarah Palin Hijacks the Tea Party Movement, and this was from the politics.nashvillepost.com or Nashville Post. So this is where she pretty much gave the speech, the same state. So let's go into see what she said. We pretty much know off the bat that she is, like they say, co-opting, which is a big word. But it's pretty simple. It's just grassroots movements start, like the Tea Party, which started with Ron Paul in 2007, and then you have fake conservatives, neocons, right? They're all about war on drugs and anti-liberty and the war on terror and all that good stuff. And then they align themselves and immerse themselves as the leaders of that grassroots party. And so you have like people like Glenn Beck and her and Sean Hannity all of a sudden taking the reins, right? Just jumping on a sled, right, and taking a carriage, a horse carriage, and just grabbing them reins from the people that started it, right, and say, I got it from here, guys. And so she'll lead most, good conservatives or disillusioned conservatives off the cliff, and possibly to allow Barack Obama to be reelected. If not, well then, you're just going to get the other side of the neo-fascist coin, which will be, like I said, increase the war on drugs, increase torturing, increase the war on terror, increase drone bombings, increase the police state here at home. It's been pretty bad under Obama, but, when it's a Republican, then everybody just accepts the fact that, they're all about that. That's what a real conservative is, which they are not. So let's go. The Tea Party movement is dead. The one I was familiar with anyways. Judson Phillips held it down, and Sarah Palin drove a stake right through its heart last night, live on C-SPAN in front of an unsuspecting audience. Sarah Palin didn't give a Tea Party speech last night. She gave a partisan Republican address. It was purely political speech designed to position her for the presidential run in 2012 or 2016. Period. She wasn't there to celebrate the organic nature of the movement she had nothing to do with creating. She was there to co-opt the name and claim the brand as hers, as she did. The movement that came to be officially recognized almost a year ago, but whose they said a year ago, which would be 2009. It was actually since 2007. But it says almost a year ago, but whose roots go back further than that, has been snuffed out and replaced in the public mind. The movement that has began as a people's movement of angry, independent, libertarians, conservatives, which even there was actually liberals there as well, not as many, but there were still Democrats at some of these things, some of these functions. They share the same interests as conservatives, right? We should take our country back. Will now be thought of as the movement of people like Palin, Dick Armey, Judson Phillips, Mark Skoda, etc. Essentially a wholly owned subsidiary of the official conservative movement in the Republican Party. This new Tea Party bears no resemblance to the one that began a year ago as a reaction to the collapse of our financial system and the subsequent bailout. That movement of ragtag, unorganized libertarians, independents, and conservatives was something new and unique, an authentic protest movement angered not just by the new president Barack Obama, who had presided over the bailouts, but the president who started the bailout ruling, whose incompetence had led to the crisis in the first place. Yes, that's W, Mr. 66. And says, the people we saw on the steps of the Legislative Plaza and county courthouses across the state last year weren't movement conservatives. Certainly the movement conservatives were those that were at the protests, but the Tea Parties were much bigger in size and scope and concept, rather just an traditional modern conservative reheated. Sorry about that. Last night, the professional conservatives fixed that for good. For over a year, the media has struggled to try and define just exactly what the movement was. Now they have a definition. Sarah Palin. Palin, while explicitly saying the movement had no leader, implicitly offered herself up as one. After this speech, which was widely covered on the internet and carried on television, the Tea Party movement and Sarah Palin will be inextricably intertwined. So with the spotlight on her and the attention of the curious media surrounding her, what did she present as a Tea Party agenda? What did she discuss? Ronald Reagan, national defense, and superficial deficiencies of the current Democratic occupant of the White House. Wow. In all honesty, the speech could have just as easily been given in 1994 as in 2010, which of course was the last time Republican operatives and professional conservatives sought to exploit an authentic populist movement of the center-right. Ronald Reagan? Are you serious? 3 times the name was invoked during the speech. Sure, it was his birthday, but it serves to remind us what kind of crowd this was in front of the C-SPAN cameras. These weren't the people who were out protesting. This weren't regular folks. This was the same old network of conservatives, hacks, flacks, publicists, and hanger-ons. This was Conservative Incorporated. Yeah, like I said, these are the neocons. They're not about small government. They love big government. Ronald Reagan has nothing to do with the Tea Party movement. Nothing. Ronald Reagan is the past, the GOP's past, no less. The Tea Party movement was supposed to be the future. The fact that Palin even has the temerity to position herself as a leader in the movement, and despite her protests that is exactly what she's doing, is offensive to any student of very, very recent political history. Palin, as mavericky and rogue as she likes to paint herself, was the vice presidential nominee of the Republican Party in 2008. She ran with John McCain and defended the Bush legacy, a project she continued last night in front of the Tea Party audience. In her remarks, Palin praised the senator from Arizona and chastised the current president for blaming the past one for his problems. Now, I don't know every Tea Party out there, but I do know a few, and I don't remember any of them having a whole lot of good to say about Bush or McCain. It says, and when did the Tea Party movement get a foreign policy? I didn't put a clock on it, but the first portion of the Palin speech seemed very heavy on neoconservatism. Palin expressed dismay about the fact that Obama spent only 9% of the State of the Union on foreign policy and stated that Americans deserve to know the truth about the threats we face and what the administration is or isn't doing about them. So it's old-fashioned rhetoric, right? She talked about homicide bombers and slammed the administration of its handling of the man who plotted to take down the Detroit liner on Christmas Day, and says treating this like a mere law enforcement matter places our country at grave risk, because that's not how radical Islamic extremists are looking at this, she said. They know we're at war, and to win that war, we need a commander-in-chief, not a professor of law standing in a lectern. Says Palin talked about standing up to Iran, defending Israel, and making the world safe for democracy. All noble goals, I suppose. What she was doing, justifying perpetuating the foreign policy of George Bush at a Tea Party convention. The Tea Party I'm familiar with was concerned more about the collusion of big business and big government than the war in Iraq. The Tea Party I'm familiar with was more concerned about rejecting the bailout of Wall Street while looking for ways to reinvigorate the economy of Main Street. Rather than looking at for Al-Qaeda. The Tea Party I'm familiar with seemed more concerned about restoring the public at home than democracy abroad. And so you might want to check out the rest of this because I'm not going to have time here. But thank you for checking it out, everybody. And please leave your comments.